Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Utah High School Hoops podcast. I'm your host, Adam Peak. You can go subscribe to this podcast at utahbasketball.net or wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, I don't know. Wherever you listen to podcasts, just search for the Utah High School Hoops podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be going through my latest power rankings. I'm starting to see like Max Preps has their own rankings, though they don't update all that often. Deseret News has their own rankings. And so, go check them out as well. If you care to, I don't know. You can do whatever you'd like. You are a grown up. You can do whatever you want to do. All right, let's get to this episode of the Utah High School Hoops podcast. This is the Utah High School Hoops podcast, your source for sometimes informative, but always entertaining coverage of the Utah high school hoop scene with your host, Adam Peak. All right, before we get to the power rankings, just want to give a huge thanks to some people who have been helping sponsor this and make this podcast worthwhile. So if you like what's happening here, you don't pay me directly, you can go support some incredible companies. Number one is out in Harriman. It is the Training Zone. I've talked about it before. I had a podcast episode with Matt Montgomery out there. Listen, download the app, $50 a month. You got 5 free days if you want it. Go out there in season, off season, whatever it is, get your shooting gun, get your hoop, and get to work. Training Zone in Harriman. Check it out. Also, and I haven't talked much about Sports Fit, but down in Highland, Utah, Sports Fit is a state-of-the-art facility with Jasper Bibbs, who is an NBA trainer. So if you want to get your body right, go down, see Jasper at Sports Fit. He's doing some incredible work there. I think he might even be expanding. I need to catch up with Jasper. So for sure, I got to go do that. Go check out verbalcommits.com if you want to see all the player movement. If you want to, I highly recommend signing up your player for a Player Plus profile. That one does cost. You can use promo code Utah and get 10% off of that cost. They do a great job of promoting the players who sign up for a Player Plus profile. And then finally, our newest sponsor, which is Redmond.life. They have a recovery. They have a ton of great products. They have a recovery product that I love a lot called Relight, RELYTE. It is so critically important for you to recover after practice, after your workout, after you play, to help you from cramping and to get ready for that next event, whatever it is. So recovery, you're going to have sleep. You don't want to have your cell phones in your room with you, all that stuff. But a big part of that is your hydration. So go to go to redmond.life, use promo code PEAK15, PEEK15 to get 15% off of your order. So thanks to all those incredible organizations. They're all Utah based too. Well, I guess Verbal Commits is not Utah based, but everybody else is Utah based. And Verbal Commits has my good friend Brandon Goebel is over in Colorado, which is kind of like Utah, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, go check him out. All right. So we are going to, should I try this again? I feel like last time I tried to do like a transition thing here. Let's see what hard riff is. Let's get to the Utah High School Hoops power rankings. All right. Those were noises. I don't know. I don't even know if you guys could hear that. All right. So we are going to start. I'm going to take down this thing. There we go. We are going to start in 1A. And I know I've described this before, but if this is your first time listening to the podcast, first of all, thank you so much. I do try really hard to look at the teams, look at the records, look at who they've played. I don't have like a specific science test. I'm going to miss stuff because I don't watch a lot of games. I wish I could say that I was out there watching a ton of basketball and this is all I did, and that those great sponsors paid me enough money, or that I was able to make enough money to do this as a full-time job. It is not even close to a full-time job. It's barely even qualifies as a hobby. So I put as much time as I can into it. So if I miss something, understand, it's not intentional or anything like that. But I do even down, to 1A and 2A. I go through, I look at the records, I look at the teams, I look at who they've played, I do all that kind of stuff. So this isn't just like some sort of frivolous thing. I do try to take some time and put into it. All right. So let's get in here. I think last time I started with the overall 1 through 10. This time we'll start here at 1A. So I've got Penguich coming in number 1, but I did have a pretty healthy debate in my own brain about moving Milford up to number 1. The thing is, you have to dethrone the champ, and the Penguich Bobcats are the champ. They're playing some good basketball, so I kept them at 1. Milforders at 2. Rich has had some impressive play. They were if you call all the way back, they were my preseason prediction to win 1A. They moved up to number 3. Tabiona is at 4. Then moving in, their first appearance in the 1A power rankings is Valley coming in at 5. I think that meant that Tintic. So apologies to Coach Patton, but I think they're 1 and 2 now in region, so still plenty of time to move back up. And again, these rankings are not tied to any sort of RPI. These don't affect anything. This is just me talking about basketball. All right. So don't get too upset. Let's move in here to 2A. And let me just say something here about 2A basketball. There right now, I think this is true, is not a more dominant team at the top of the rankings than Coach Ronnie Ross in American Leadership Academy. They are rolling, playing great basketball, led by a freshman point guard in Kobe Ross. I got Jackson Hunter out there, just filling up. These guys are playing some great basketball, and it's going to be very difficult, not just for them to get done with the power rankings, but like I said, that doesn't matter. They are going to become a very, very hard team to beat come playoff time. They play the right way. They're extremely well coached. That's probably my surest thing that I have for a prediction now of like, who do I think is going to win the state championship at this point? If somebody asks, they're like, you have to bet your entire life savings. I'd be like, ALA is going to win 2. that would be my my most bold prediction. Number 2 is Kanab, followed by North Summit at 3, South Sevier at 4, and then the Winged Lions of Roland Hall move in at number 5. This was a tough one. I was kind of going back and forth with who was going to be here. I did this as well in 5A, which we'll get to that here in a second. But Roland Hall has been winning some games. I been able to watch them a little bit just through some relationships I have with the coaches, and so yeah, it's fun to watch. Hopefully, they can keep things rolling at Roland Hall. All right, let's get here to 3A, and I'm going to catch a lot of crap for this because I still have Morgan at number 1 because they're the number 1 team in 3A. They have 1 loss to Green Canyon, which, Judge Memorial just lost to Green Canyon. I think the Morgan loss was at Morgan, if I recall. And Judge lost up there. We'll talk about Judge here in a second, but they just lost at Green Canyon. But I got Morgan at 1 and I have Judge at 2. Judge has played an insanely hard strength of schedule. And the reason I have him at number 2 is because coming into region play, I wanted to have a realistic look of who do I think the best teams are based on the information that I have. And going through all of the other 3A teams, looking there's teams with better records than Judge for sure. But I think you'd be hard pressed to say that there are 2 better teams right now in 3A than Morgan and Judge. So I've got Judge up at number 2. Richfield coming in at number 3. I think that they had bounced out, or maybe they were down at number 5. I want to say Richfield is 2nd in the Max Preps rankings, and maybe also in Deseret News. Juab at number 4, and South Summit. I've talked about South Summit a little bit as well. They have, let me just check this. I think that they still have the leading scorer in the state. Let's go here to leaders. Yep. Logan Wolstenhulm is still averaged at 25.1 points per game and is 4th in rebounding at 10.9. So Logan is, I think, probably up there in terms of like 3A player of the year type awards as we're looking at it coming in here. Certainly, first team, but JJ Patching was the 3A player of the year last year. And so is he going to repeat? There's a high likelihood of that. Bracken Saunders is playing well. Colt Say is playing well up at Morgan. And Logan Wolstenholm is, I hope I'm saying your last name right. I apologize if I'm not, but is playing really well. So those are my top 5 in 3A. Let's go here to 4A. And this one was it's always hard when a team beats another team. It's like Ridgeline hands Green Canyon their first and only loss of the year. And so it's like, well, is Ridgeline, should they be ranked higher than Green Canyon? But I just went through, looked at all the schedules, like, well, do they deserve to be ranked ahead of Payson, who just beat a very, very good Provo team who I debated with at number 5 on this and beat them by a good margin? I didn't know. So I will, here's what I'll say. The top 5 here, and I would throw in Provo. Murray's playing well of late. Hillcrest has had a good record so far. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else. Apologies if I am. There's 4A is more wide open than I think I was thinking it was before. Green Canyon is great. They're not just one player in Jude Hage. They can shoot the ball. They have some good size. They play great defense. Their coach made an incredible adjustment to the Judge game. Held Judge to 1 point in the third quarter of that game. So they're very well coached. I have them still at number 1 for a good reason. But in the state playoffs, if they were to go up against Cottonwood or Timpanogos, I don't know that I would say like definitively they are going to beat Cottonwood or Timpanogos or Provo or Murray or Hillcrest, right? Like I think that there's a good amount of teams in 4A. And like I said, I'm probably missing somebody, so I apologize if I didn't mention you. But I did move up Ridgeline from 5 to 3 after they beat Green Canyon. I probably would have dropped Green Canyon had they lost that Judge game. Or I think they also played Logan. Had they lost one of those games, I probably would have dropped them down, but they didn't. They took care of business and they won. So I got Green Canyon 1, Payson 2, Ridgeline 3, Timpanogos 4, and Cottonwood at 5. Let's move on here to 5A. So in 5A, nothing changed for me. Although Orem with Simeon Surugatuga. Man, I totally butchered your last name. I apologize. But 2026 guard is an absolute crazy addition to that team. I think probably pushes Orem as, at least in my mind, over the top of Timpview as the favorites in 5A. But if they play in the championship game, get your popcorn ready. Get out to where are they playing at the University of Utah again? I'm not sure. If they are, get to that game. It would be phenomenal to watch them play in this championship game. And I think they play a couple times, right? I think Timpview and Orem play a couple times here coming up. Let's check that actually. Let's see when do Timpview and Orem play each other? Scores. No, that's not what I wanted. Hold, please. This is called bad radio. Okay, here we go. Orem and Timpview play Friday, January 17th at Timpview. And then they also play on February 7th at Orem. So 2 Friday night games. Orem has a potential trap game. They're at home against Wasatch on Tuesday, and then they go at Timpview. It's going to be a big game. Obviously, it's a big game for both schools. I think it's going to be a pretty fantastic game. So if you're in the area and you can make it out on Friday the 17th, head on out to Timpview to watch them play Orem, number 1 versus number 2. Number 3, I've got Olympus. Olympus had a 1-point win on the road at Highland. Again, didn't watch the game. Very low scoring game, defensive battle. But I've moved them up to number 3. Highland, I think, was at 3. I've dropped them down to 4 after that game. And then I really, really struggled here with who to put at 5. And I got Bountiful there, to be totally honest, because y'all just keep hitting me up on Instagram. But you're top in the region, right? You're 4-0 in region, 10-3 overall, playing really, really good basketball. Coach Gus is one of the better dudes in all of basketball. So we got a 20-point win over Bonneville, 17-point win over Northridge, an 11-point win over Viewmont, who is very good. They had a loss against Timpview, beat up on Box Elder, beat Timpanogos by 17, beat a very good Skyridge team by 6, beat Springville by 6, beat Dixie by 9. You get the point, right? This team is playing really good. They're going to be in every game. For the most, they're just going to be in every game. They're going to battle you. They can shoot it. They've got good guard play with Bryson Heath. So, but I mean, Alta lost to Skyline. Shout out to Skyline. They're 3-0 in region. It's tough. It's tough to win region games. Did they deserve to drop out of the top 5? Probably not. It's probably a tie, honestly, between Alta and Bountiful here at 5. But that's who I had. Let's see. Who do we have? Who does Deseret News have in 5? Yeah, so they have Alta at 5. I'm not going to be upset about that, but want to give Bountiful a little bit of love because they have been playing very, very good basketball. All right, let's get over here to 6A. Little bit of a shakeup at the top. And let me talk about this here for a second. Davis is very, very good at basketball. They just are. Being able to watch, like I said, I wish I could watch more games. I wish that I could go full Michael Keaton multiplicity and have myself at all these different events. So I can't get out and watch, Harriman play, but I was able to watch Davis play a little bit. That's a tough team to beat, and they don't really beat themselves too much. Even when they struggle to hit outside shots, they still find ways to turn you over, get out on the break, get the ball ahead, finish at the rim, hit mid-range shots, play disrupt. They're just tough. It's just a tough team. And so I moved Davis over Harriman for this ranking, not because of anything that's happened with Harriman, just because I thought Davis deserved to get a little bit of love at number 1 in 6A. I really did. I think that they have earned it and they're playing really well. Harriman is probably 1B in there, right? I mean, they're is this the right one? Hang on. I think this is the right one. Let me just double check that I have the right one pulled up here. Yeah, no, I do. Okay. So I've got Harriman at 2, and then Bingham is at 3. I think I dropped Bingham down. I had them at 2. I dropped them down to 3. I did not know. So they lost to American Fork. And I think I commented when I was going through the scoreboard, I was like, oh man, they really held Luke West down. Well, I found out Luke didn't even play. It was a mess up in the stats. So, which again, shout out to American Fork. Bingham is more than just Luke West, but losing your top scorer and your top playmaker in Luke West was really tough. So it sounds like it's not something huge and horrible. Praying for Luke to recover and get back onto the court, but I do have them at number 3. Corner Canyon just stays right there at number 4. They just keep kind of hanging out. I would think on this of these 5, and even I debated putting Weber in at 5 over Layton because they are just a bunch of dogs. They just get it done. They play really hard. They're not overly size. They don't have a ton of size inside, which is going to be tough for them when they play Corner Canyon, when they play Bingham, when they play Harriman. Even maybe they would match up a little bit better with Davis, but I think that Layton and Weber are kind of right there. And those 6 teams, and you throw in like Lone Peak is playing well. I mean, 6A is wide open. I think 6A is wide open. I think that 4A is pretty open. I think 5A is pretty top heavy with like the top, call it 4 or 5 teams. To be totally honest, I think 3A is pretty top heavy. I think 2A, like I said, I think that there's a clear cut favorite there. And then I haven't watched enough of 1A to know, is Penguich far and away better than anybody else. But let's go here through the overall top 10, and then we'll wrap this thing up. I had a little bit of shifting around here in rankings 6 through 10. So 10 with Bingham, we've talked about. Olympus at 9. Anthem Prep. Listen, grind session people. How come I can't figure out who wins and loses games? Y'all are a national. I go to your website and I don't know what the records are. I can't see box scores. It gets a little bit frustrating, to be totally candid. So all I have is social media, and we know that for all I know, Anthem Prep is playing horribly. I honestly have no idea. I keep trying to get information. I don't think they are, by the way. I know they were out in Iowa, and I think they lost a couple games there, but they've got a ton of talented players there. So I got Anthem Prep at 8. I think they fell a spot. Harriman at 7, Davis, who I already spoke about, at 6. And then the top 5 is not going to be, there's 0 changes here. Orem at 5, Timpview at 4, LCA at 3, Wasatch Academy at 2, and the Utah Prep national team at 1. All right, so let's just real quick, let's go here and take a look at some upcoming games. On Monday, we've got Provo at Uinta. Dawson Gardner and I think it's JJ Jensen at Uinta are playing really, really good basketball. That's going to be a tough game for the Bulldogs. So that's probably the best game that we have on Monday. Tuesday, got some league games, I'm sure. Let's scroll through here and check out what we have going on. Copper Hills at Riverton. Davis at Layton. That's going to be electric. Bingham at Harriman. Westlake at Lehigh. Man, American Fork at Pleasant Grove. I got a couple of comments about American Fork moving up, and I think I said, listen, at 4 and 10, they're not in the top 5. Do I think they're going to win the region with Bryce on the team? Would not be a surprising situation. Do I think could American Fork win the state title this year? Absolutely, they can. It doesn't matter that they're 4 and 10 now, right? Like Judge was, I think they were 5 and 12 last year at this point, or something insane like that. So it can totally happen. Lone Peak at Sky Ridge is a good game. Cypress at Juan Diego. I think those are probably the 2 best teams in that region. Highland at Alta. Another great game. There are some great games. Brighton at Olympus. Is that going to be a game that Brighton is totally capable of going into Olympus and stealing that one? East versus West sounds like an all-star game. Let's see, Timpview at Cedar Valley. We've got Payson at Timpanogos. That's going to be a big game in 4A. And still scrolling here. Okay, let's move on to Wednesday. See what we got going on Wednesday. Clearfield at Bountiful. Woods Cross at Roy. Viewmont at Northridge. Should be a good game. Dixie at Desert Hills. Desert Hills is playing well. Canyon View at Richfield. That'll be a really big game. I think I had Canyon View almost in the top 5 of mine. They were just right out on the outskirts. Union at Morgan. I would expect Morgan to win. Grantsville at South Summit. Grantsville is tough. Those guys can play. They've got some guys who can fill up the bucket. Fill up the basket and get buckets. American Heritage at Judge Memorial should be a really fun game. All right, we got Roland Hall at American Leadership Academy. So we'll see how well my 2A basketball takes are. We'll see how well Roland Hall does on the road at ALA. All right, everybody. I won't keep scrolling through and talking off the top of my head about games. Appreciate everyone for subscribing. Remember to go out and support. Go to redmond.life, use Peak 15, go to Verbal Commits, use promo code Utah. Go check out what they're doing down in Harriman at the Training Zone and with Jasper Bibbs at Sports Fit. Just some really, really awesome. It's an awesome community, right? And that's what it's about, right? It's about community. So appreciate y'all for tuning in. And also a reminder, on Thursday we'll be IG Live with my good friend Brad Greenland. He'll be here in studio, and we're going to be taking some questions. He is a tremendously good referee, and he's going to be going through some rules. We did this last year. I think it was really helpful. So parents, players, coaches, please tap in this Thursday night at 7 o'clock right here on the Utah High School Hoops podcast and on my Instagram page at @eAdamPeak. Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful evening.